Have you ever wondered why some days feel unstoppable while others slip away before you even realize it? The truth is, the difference often begins in the first moments after you wake up. Those quiet minutes before the world demands your attention, before notifications light up your phone, before responsibilities pull you in every direction. This is where your power lies. This is where discipline is born or broken, and the way you choose to command your mind in those moments decides not just how your day will unfold, but who you are becoming. Most people underestimate mornings. They roll out of bed already behind, already distracted, already surrendering their focus to the noise of the world. Without realizing it, they hand over control of their day before they even take their first step. But the few who understand the silent power of morning discipline, the few who claim those minutes as sacred, these are the ones who unlock energy, clarity, and focus that others can't even imagine. It is not luck. It is not talent. It is the discipline of the mind practiced daily when the rest of the world is still asleep. Think about it. The first thoughts that enter your mind create a ripple effect. If your first thoughts are scattered, anxious, or negative, the rest of the day becomes a constant battle to recover. But if your first thoughts are centered, focused, and strong, the rest of the day carries that strength forward. This is not just theory. Neuroscience shows that willpower is highest in the morning, that your brain is most capable of self-control before decision fatigue begins to wear it down. That means the early hours are not just convenient. They are your greatest weapon. But here's what makes this powerful discipline in the morning is not just about tasks, alarms, or checklists. It's about identity. Each time you choose discipline over distraction, you are teaching your brain who you are. You are showing yourself that you are not at the mercy of laziness, comfort, or excuses. You are reminding yourself that you are in control. And the confidence that comes from that truth is life-changing, because confidence is not built on empty words. It is built on proof. And each disciplined morning is proof that you can rely on yourself. So why does this matter for you right now? Because every dream you have, every goal you hold, every change you wish to make in your life, it all begins with the discipline of the mind. Not once, not sometimes, but every single morning. If you can win here, you can win anywhere. Imagine starting your day with clarity instead of confusion, with purpose instead of hesitation, with strength instead of weakness. Imagine how much more energy, focus, and courage you would carry into everything you do. That is the reward waiting for you when you discipline your mind each morning. And here is why you must stay with this message until the very end. What you are about to discover is not just another routine or motivational trick. It is the foundation of transformation. It is the reason why some people break free from cycles of doubt and failure while others remain stuck. Because if you can learn to discipline your mind in the quiet of the morning, you can carry that discipline into every area of your life. Stay with me, because by the end, you will not just understand the power of morning discipline, you will feel it, and you will be ready to claim it for yourself. Your mind craves structure more than it craves comfort. Without it, thoughts scatter like leaves in the wind, chasing distractions, reacting to problems, and burning energy on chaos. With it, your mind becomes sharp, focused, and steady, able to cut through noise and move with direction. Every morning you are faced with a choice: give your mind the order it hungers for, or let the day dictate your path. One choice builds strength, the other drains it. And every day you repeat that choice, you shape the quality of your entire life. The human brain is not designed to thrive in disorder. Studies show that uncertainty increases stress levels, raises cortisol, and clouds decision-making. That is why mornings often feel heavy when you wake up aimlessly, scrolling through messages, rushing through routines, and hoping things fall into place. The brain begins the day overwhelmed, and once that pattern sets in, it becomes difficult to break free. But when you impose structure on your mind, the moment you wake up, everything shifts. You replace stress with clarity, hesitation with certainty, chaos with control. You are no longer reacting, you are leading. This structure doesn't have to be complicated. It is not about long checklists or rigid schedules. It is about giving your mind a clear signal. Today, I am in command. It can be as simple as sitting in silence to breathe, writing down your top priorities, or repeating a powerful affirmation that sets your intention. What matters most is not the exact practice, but the discipline of creating mental order before the world rushes in. This discipline says to your brain, I am not here to drift. I am here to direct. And the brain responds by aligning thoughts, emotions, and actions with that command. When the mind has structure, it gains freedom. This sounds paradoxical, but it is the deepest truth. Structure frees you from the prison of distraction, from the trap of indecision, from the weight of constant mental clutter. Think of a river. Without its banks, the water spreads aimlessly, shallow and weak, but with clear boundaries. The same water flows with power and direction, capable of carving valleys and moving mountains. Your mind works the same way. Morning discipline builds those banks, giving your energy a channel so it can achieve something extraordinary. And here's the most empowering part. Your mind begins to crave this order once you feed it. The more structure you create each morning, the more natural it feels. The brain associates structure with safety, with calm, with focus. This means each disciplined morning makes the next one easier. What begins as effort soon becomes identity. Instead of forcing yourself into discipline, you become the kind of person who simply does it. And when that happens, everything changes. Not just your mornings, but your entire approach to life. Right now, you may feel the pull of comfort, the temptation of ease, the whisper that says, skip today, start tomorrow. But your mind does not need comfort. It needs structure. It needs you to take control before the noise begins. Because the truth is, life will always bring stress, distractions, and uncertainty. But when you anchor yourself in morning discipline, you carry a shield of clarity into whatever the day holds. You become untouchable, not because life is easier, but because your mind is stronger. And if you can start your day with that kind of strength, imagine what else you can build. Imagine the courage you can face challenges with, the focus you can bring to your goals, the calm you can hold in the middle of storms. Structure is not just a morning practice, it is the foundation of your future. Each morning is a chance to build it. Each morning is a chance to step into power. And that power begins with disciplining your mind the moment you wake up. First and greatest battle you face every morning is not with the world outside, it is with the voice inside. That voice whispers reasons to stay in bed a little longer, excuses to delay your goals, distractions that feel urgent but lead nowhere. It is subtle, persuasive, and relentless. And if you give in, you lose before the day has even begun. But when you choose discipline over that voice, you win the most important victory of all, the victory over yourself. Self-mastery is the foundation of every achievement. Without it, talent remains unfocused, dreams remain distant, and opportunities slip away. The mind left unchecked will always seek the path of least resistance. It will chase comfort, avoid discomfort, and surrender to distraction. But comfort does not create growth. Discomfort does. And the moment you push past the first wave of resistance each morning, you train your brain to embrace discomfort as a path to power. You teach yourself that you are not controlled by urges or moods, you are controlled by choice. This battle is not glamorous. No one sees it, no one applauds it, no one rewards it in the moment, but it is the most important fight you will ever win because it sets the tone for everything that follows. If you win this battle, you carry strength into your work, your relationships, and your goals. If you lose it, you carry doubt, hesitation, and weakness instead. Every decision, every action, every outcome of your day begins with whether or not you had the courage to discipline your mind in the quiet of the morning. Think about how many times you felt frustration with yourself for breaking promises, for delaying goals, for slipping back into old habits. That frustration is not born from lack of ability. It is born from losing the inner battle. But the opposite is also true. Every time you win against excuses, even in small ways, you feel a surge of pride, energy, and confidence. That feeling is proof that discipline is not a punishment. It is freedom. It frees you from the weight of regret, from the heaviness of guilt, from the cycle of starting over again and again. Psychologists call this the ego depletion trap. The more you give in to impulses, the weaker your willpower becomes. But when you resist, when you choose discipline instead, you strengthen the mental muscle that guards your focus and determination. Each morning becomes a training ground. Each act of self-control builds endurance. And just like physical training, what feels difficult today becomes easier tomorrow. What feels like struggle now becomes strength later. There will always be a part of you that seeks the easier way. That voice never fully disappears. But discipline is the proof that you are stronger than that voice. Each morning you face it, you have the chance to prove to yourself who is in charge. Not laziness, not doubt, not fear. You, the you that knows what you are capable of, the you that refuses to waste another day to weakness, the you that understands that the first battle each morning is not something to fear. It is an opportunity to rise. And once you rise, once you conquer yourself before the world even stirs, you become unstoppable. You carry into the day the certainty that you are in control, the pride that you kept your word to yourself, the clarity that you have already won where it matters most. Every goal, every challenge, every dream begins with this victory. Discipline your mind each morning, and you will not just win the battle of the day, you will win the battle of your life. Every great transformation begins with something small. A simple decision, a single action, repeated with consistency, carries more power than any grand plan left undone. When you wake up and choose one small act of discipline, whether it's rising on the first alarm, making your bed, moving your body, or writing down your intentions, you set off a chain reaction. That small win sends a signal to your brain, progress is happening. And progress, no matter how small, fuels motivation. It tells you that today will not be wasted, that you are capable, that momentum is already on your side. The science is undeniable. Each time you complete a task, no matter how minor it seems, your brain releases dopamine. This is the neurotransmitter of reward, of satisfaction, of energy. It creates a positive feedback loop. One small win generates the desire for another. One act of discipline creates the appetite for the next. This is why starting with something small each morning is so powerful. It is not just about the task itself. It is about unlocking the chemistry of motivation inside you and building momentum that carries throughout the day. Think about how powerful momentum really is. A heavy train takes enormous energy to move from a complete stop. But once it starts rolling, even the smallest push keeps it going. Your mind works the same way. The hardest moment is always the beginning. The hardest decision is the first one. But once you break the inertia with a small victory, the rest becomes easier. That is why disciplined mornings feel so different. They remove the weight of hesitation and replace it with the lightness of progress. And here is the deeper truth. Small wins are not small at all. They are the foundation upon which great achievements are built. No one climbs a mountain in one leap. They climb by taking one step, then another, then another. Each step may feel ordinary, but together they create something extraordinary. The same is true for your discipline. Each morning win may seem insignificant in isolation, but over weeks, months, and years, they build unshakable strength. This is why excuses are so dangerous. When you tell yourself that one morning doesn't matter, that skipping today is harmless, you rob yourself of momentum. You stop the train. And when the train stops, starting again feels heavier, harder, and more painful. But when you protect your momentum, even with the smallest actions, you carry energy forward. You don't need perfection. You need persistence. You need to guard the streak of small victories that stack into something massive. And here's where it becomes life-changing. Small wins reshape how you see yourself. Each disciplined choice whispers a message to your identity. You are someone who follows through. You are someone who does what you said you would do. That identity is worth more than any single achievement because it becomes the lens through which you approach every challenge. Once you believe you are disciplined, your actions naturally align with that belief. And it all begins with the small victories you choose each morning. So never underestimate the power of the first action you take after opening your eyes. That first disciplined choice carries more weight than it appears. It is not just about a task. It is about momentum. It is about chemistry. It is about identity. When you collect enough small wins, you create unstoppable force. And with that force, there is nothing you cannot accomplish. The day bends to your direction. The mind bends to your command. And your life bends to your discipline. There is a deeper reward hidden inside every disciplined morning. Self-trust. Every time you follow through on what you said you would do, you strengthen the bond between you and yourself. You stop being someone who makes promises and breaks them. You stop being someone who dreams but never acts. You become someone whose word means something, especially to the person who matters most, you. That trust is priceless because without it, no amount of motivation or inspiration can last. Think about it. How many times have you told yourself you would start tomorrow only to wake up and break that promise before the day even began? Each time that happens, you chip away at your own confidence. You teach yourself that your words are empty, that your intentions don't matter, that you can't rely on you. And that lack of trust creates a heavy burden, self-doubt, guilt, frustration. But when you discipline your mind each morning, you begin to repair that broken trust. You begin to show yourself that when you commit, you follow through. And that shift is life-changing because nothing is more powerful than believing in your own reliability. Confidence is not built from compliments or praise. It is built from evidence. Real, tangible evidence that you can depend on yourself. Discipline creates that evidence. When you rise at the time you said you would, when you complete the task you promised, when you start the day on your terms, you collect proof. That proof silences the doubts. It quiets the voice that says you aren't capable. It replaces insecurity with certainty. And certainty built on action is unshakable. This is why morning discipline is so much more than routine. It is not about rigid schedules or robotic repetition. It is about identity. Each time you follow through, you are shaping the identity of someone who can be trusted. And once you see yourself that way, your life begins to change. Decisions become clearer. Risks feel less intimidating. Challenges feel surmountable because you no longer question whether you can handle them. You know you can. You've proven it to yourself every morning. There is a kind of freedom that comes with self-trust. You no longer rely on outside validation to feel worthy. You no longer wait for perfect circumstances to begin. You stop seeking shortcuts or easy escapes because you understand that the only person who needs to believe in your journey is you. And that belief is rooted in discipline. It is rooted in the small daily acts that seem invisible to the world but transform everything within you. And here is the most powerful truth. The more you trust yourself, the braver you become. You take bigger steps. You dream bigger dreams. You pursue goals that once felt out of reach because you know you won't abandon yourself in the process. Self-trust fuels ambition, not because everything will be easy, but because you know you will stay the course when it gets hard. And life will get hard. But discipline ensures that when it does, you meet difficulty with resilience, not with excuses. Each morning is an opportunity to prove yourself to yourself, not to the world, not to anyone else, just to you. Because once you have self-trust, everything else follows. Confidence, resilience, focus, courage. They all grow from that single root. And that root grows stronger with every disciplined choice you make at the start of the day. So when you rise tomorrow, remember, the first act of discipline is not just a task. It is a promise kept. And every promise kept makes you unstoppable. Your emotions are not fixed. They are fluid. They shift and bend according to your actions. Too many people wait to feel motivated before they move, but that is the wrong order. Motivation is not the spark that creates action. Action is the spark that creates motivation. When you discipline your mind each morning to take action regardless of how you feel, you gain the ability to control your emotions instead of being controlled by them. That single reversal changes everything. The body and mind are deeply connected. Psychologists call it the principle of embodied cognition, the truth that your physical actions influence your mental state. When you choose to rise, to move, to focus, you send signals to your brain that it is time to engage. This is why exercise lifts your mood, why writing down goals clears your mind, why meditation creates calm. Action reshapes emotion. Discipline in the morning ensures that no matter how you feel when you wake up, you do not stay trapped there. You elevate your state by moving first, thinking second. Think of the mornings where you lingered in bed, scrolling on your phone, delaying the start of the day. What followed? A heavy, sluggish energy that seemed impossible to shake. Now compare that to the mornings where you rose with purpose, completed a task, and claimed an early victory. The emotions that follow were not accidental. They were created. And if you can create energy, clarity, and focus once, you can create it every morning. The key is discipline, the willingness to act before you feel like it, knowing the feeling will follow. This is where most people remain stuck. They wait for inspiration to strike, for the perfect mood to arrive, for motivation to knock on their door. But that moment rarely comes. And even when it does, it fades as quickly as it arrived. The strongest people, the most disciplined people, do not wait. They act first. They understand that emotions are followers, not leaders. And because they act first, their emotions align with their goals instead of resisting them. This is why disciplined mornings are so powerful. They are emotional training. Each morning you prove to yourself that you do not need to feel ready to begin. You only need to begin. And once you begin, readiness follows. Over time, this rewires your relationship with emotion. Fear, doubt, and hesitation lose their grip because you no longer take orders from them. You act anyway. And the moment you act, the weight of hesitation transforms into the energy of progress. Imagine what becomes possible when you no longer wait to feel brave, but instead build courage through movement. Imagine the strength you gain when sadness or frustration does not dictate your day because you trained yourself to shift state through action. Imagine the freedom of waking up each morning knowing that you have the power to choose how you feel simply by choosing what you do first. This is not a theory, it is a discipline, and it belongs to you if you are willing to practice it. Every time you take that first disciplined step in the morning, you are not just completing a task. You are creating the emotional state that will carry you forward. You are proving that feelings are temporary, but discipline is permanent. And when discipline leads, emotion follows. That is how you rise above moods, silence doubt, and step into strength. That is how you transform not only your mornings, but your entire life. When you choose discipline each morning, you set your day on a path of strength. But when you neglect it, the opposite happens. The cost of an undisciplined morning is not small. It ripples through your entire life. Waking up without direction, drifting into distractions, reaching for comfort instead of purpose. These choices seem harmless in the moment, but they plant seeds of chaos that grow quickly. The day feels scattered, your energy feels drained, and the weight of regret builds before the morning has even ended. An undisciplined morning teaches your brain to expect disorder. Instead of focus, it learns to chase impulses. Instead of clarity, it accepts confusion. And the problem is not just the wasted hours. It's the message you send to yourself. You confirm the belief that you are not in control, that you cannot rely on your own word, that life is something happening to you instead of something you are shaping. That belief becomes heavy. It creates frustration, guilt, and a cycle of self-sabotage that repeats day after day. The pain of wasted mornings is subtle but sharp. It shows up when you sit down to work but can't concentrate. It shows up when opportunities pass you by because you are unprepared. It shows up when you look back on weeks or months and realize nothing has truly changed. That pain eats away at confidence, and the longer it continues, the more powerless you feel. The truth is, every time you avoid discipline in the morning, you are choosing short-term comfort at the cost of long-term fulfillment. And the price is always higher than you expect. But here is the good news. Just as chaos multiplies, so does order. The same way one undisciplined morning breeds more weakness. One disciplined morning creates strength that expands. That means you are never trapped. You can choose today to reverse the cycle. You can choose today to discipline your mind and reclaim control. The pain of regret can be replaced with the pride of progress. The heaviness of wasted time can be replaced with the lightness of momentum. Ask yourself, how many mornings are you willing to waste? How many days will you give away to hesitation, distraction, and regret? Life is not waiting. Time is moving whether you discipline yourself or not. The question is whether you will shape that time with intention or let it slip through your fingers. And the answer is decided not in grand moments, but in the quiet choice you make. When the alarm sounds, when your feet hit the floor, when you take the first breath of a new day. Discipline is not about denying yourself joy. It is about denying yourself regret. It is about building a life where you no longer look back and wish you had started sooner, worked harder, or stayed consistent. It is about choosing to face the discomfort now so you don't have to carry the heavier discomfort later. Because the truth is, both discipline and regret are hard, but only one builds you, only one makes you stronger, only one gives you the future you want. So the next time you feel the pull of ease, remember the real cost. Remember that an undisciplined morning is not just a few minutes lost. It is a battle surrender, a chain of momentum broken, a message to yourself that weakness wins. Do not pay that price anymore. Choose discipline and you choose freedom. Choose discipline and you choose strength. Choose discipline and you choose a life without regret. Discipline repeated day after day does more than create habits. It creates identity. Every morning you rise with focus and follow through on your decisions. You are not just completing tasks. You are shaping who you believe yourself to be. The human brain is always looking for patterns, for consistency, for stories that explain who we are. When your actions match the identity of someone disciplined, your brain adopts that story as true. And once identity takes hold, discipline stops feeling forced. It becomes who you are. This is why repetition is so powerful. Neuroscience shows that habits are formed through neural pathways that strengthen each time a behavior is repeated. At first, the effort feels heavy because the brain is carving a new path. But with consistency, that path becomes automatic, easy, natural. What once felt like a struggle becomes second nature, and the identity behind it becomes stronger with every repetition. You no longer say, I'm trying to be disciplined. You say, I'm disciplined. That shift is everything, because the brain will always work to stay congruent with the identity you believe. Too many people sabotage themselves because they focus only on results and neglect identity. They measure themselves by outcomes instead of by the person they are becoming. But outcomes are temporary, while identity is lasting. If you see yourself as undisciplined, you will eventually sabotage your progress, no matter how well things are going. If you see yourself as disciplined, you will return to discipline even after setbacks. This is why building identity through repetition is far more important than chasing perfection. Identity sustains you long after motivation fades. Each disciplined morning is a vote for the person you want to become. Each time you resist the urge to slip back into distraction, you are casting a vote for strength, for focus, for self-mastery. One vote does not decide an election, but many votes do. One act of discipline does not transform you overnight, but repeated acts create undeniable change. Over time, the votes accumulate, the identity solidifies, and the person you once struggled to become is now simply who you are. And identity carries weight. When you see yourself as disciplined, you approach challenges differently. You no longer ask, can I do this? You ask, how will I do this? You no longer wonder if you can stay consistent. You already know you can. That certainty changes everything. It changes how you work, how you face obstacles, how you interact with others. It becomes the silent foundation of your confidence, the unshakable core of your character. This is why mornings matter so much. They are the proving ground for identity. Each morning you wake, you are writing the story of who you are becoming, and no one else can write that story for you. If you drift, the story becomes one of weakness, hesitation, and regret. But if you discipline your mind, the story becomes one of strength, courage, and resilience. And once that story is written deeply enough, it becomes impossible to see yourself any other way. Do not underestimate the power of repetition. Do not underestimate the power of identity. The person you dream of being is not waiting for a perfect moment, a grand breakthrough, or an external sign. That person is built through daily discipline, through repeated acts that tell your brain who you are until it believes it completely. Discipline your mind every morning and watch as your actions stop being effort and start being identity. The mind you wake up with is not neutral. It often begins carrying yesterday's worries, unfinished thoughts, and patterns that do not serve you. Left unchecked, these patterns repeat, dragging you into cycles of negativity, doubt, and hesitation. But disciplined morning is your chance to interrupt that cycle, to reset your mental state, and to rewire the way your brain responds to challenges. Each morning becomes an opportunity to break free from old loops and create new ones that align with strength, clarity, and optimism. Your brain is constantly rewiring itself through a process called neuroplasticity. Every thought you allow, every action you repeat strengthens a pathway. Negative thinking, when left alone, becomes automatic. Waking up and immediately surrendering to worry or distraction hardens those pathways until they feel unbreakable. But when you discipline your mind in the morning, you take control of that wiring. You choose to direct your first thoughts. And in doing so, you weaken old negative loops while strengthening new positive ones. Over time, this shifts the default setting of your mind from chaos to clarity, from fear to focus. This is why the first moments of the morning are so important. Your brain is in a highly suggestible state when you first wake. What you focus on in those minutes sets the tone for the entire day. If you reach for negativity, it follows you. If you discipline your thoughts, they serve you. By intentionally choosing thoughts of purpose, gratitude, or strength, you are not just changing your mood, you are literally training your brain to favor patterns that build resilience instead of patterns that tear you down. Negativity is not a reflection of reality, it is a habit of the mind. And like any habit, it can be broken. The key is consistency. Each morning you interrupt it with discipline, you weaken its hold. Each time you replace it with clarity, focus, or action, You strengthen a new path. The process may feel slow at first, but the results are undeniable. What once felt natural, worry, doubt, procrastination loses its grip. And what once felt difficult, focus, courage, determination, becomes your new normal. This is where the true power of morning discipline lies. It's not about forcing yourself into endless routines. It is about transformation at the deepest level of the mind. It is about proving to yourself that you are not defined by old patterns, that you are not trapped by cycles of fear or weakness. You are capable of rewriting the script, and that rewriting happens every morning in the quiet choices you make before the world intrudes. Imagine starting each day not weighed down by yesterday's noise, but lifted by a fresh sense of clarity. Imagine looking in the mirror and knowing that you no longer carry the burden of negative self-talk because you've trained your mind to rise above it. Imagine how much lighter, stronger, and freer you would feel. That is the gift of discipline. It is not just about productivity. It is about liberation. It is about breaking chains you cannot see but have felt for years. Every time you discipline your mind in the morning, you are rewiring your future. You are building a mind that does not spiral into negativity, but rises into strength. You are building a foundation that cannot be shaken by doubt or fear. And when that transformation takes hold, it changes not just your mornings, but your entire life. Discipline is not only about control, it is about courage. Each morning when you choose discipline, you are not just organizing your day, you are proving to yourself that you have the strength to stand against fear, weakness, and doubt. Courage is not something you wait for in life's biggest moments. It is built in the small, unseen choices you make when no one is watching. Every time you rise when comfort calls you to stay down, every time you act when excuses beg you to delay, you are exercising courage. And the more you practice it in the morning, the more natural it becomes when life demands it later. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to act despite it. The same applies to discipline. You may not always feel ready, motivated, or strong, but discipline requires you to act anyway. Each disciplined morning is an act of defiance against weakness. It is a declaration that fear does not own you, laziness does not own you, distraction does not own you. You own yourself. And the confidence that grows from that truth cannot be taken away. When you build courage through disciplined mornings, you change the way you respond to challenges throughout the day. Instead of shrinking back, you step forward. Instead of doubting yourself, you trust yourself. Instead of feeling overwhelmed, you feel equipped. That is because you have already proven to your mind and body that you can act without hesitation. You have already practiced choosing strength over comfort. By the time obstacles appear, the courage has already been built. Think of how powerful it feels to know you have conquered yourself before the day has even begun. That victory creates an energy that carries into every situation. People feel it when you speak. They notice it in the way you carry yourself. They sense the certainty in your presence. And it is not arrogance. It is conviction. Conviction born from the courage of daily discipline. The opposite is also true. When you let comfort win in the morning, when you delay, when you avoid, you begin the day with weakness. You carry hesitation instead of confidence. You carry self-doubt instead of conviction. And when challenges arrive, fear feels heavier, decisions feel harder, and opportunities pass you by. The courage you could have built was left behind in the first moments of the morning. But the choice is always there. Every day gives you a chance to practice courage in its simplest form, discipline, to rise when it would be easier to stay still, to focus when distraction is calling, to move when fear tells you to wait. These choices may look small, but they are not. They are training you for everything bigger. They are shaping the person you are becoming. Life will test you. It will bring storms, setbacks, and struggles that demand courage. And the question is not whether those tests will come, but whether you'll be ready. Courage is not built in the middle of the storm. It is built quietly each morning through discipline. It is built when you choose strength in the smallest moments. And when you do that consistently, nothing can shake you. You will meet every test with a courage that feels unshakable because you forged it in the discipline of your mornings. True transformation begins the moment you stop waiting for motivation and start relying on discipline. Motivation is fleeting. It comes and goes like the weather. Some mornings you wake up inspired, ready to move mountains. Other mornings you wake up heavy, empty, without a spark. If you rely on motivation, you will only rise when it feels convenient. But discipline does not ask if you feel like it. Discipline does not negotiate with your emotions. Discipline is the anchor that keeps you steady when everything inside you wants to drift. Your mind learns very quickly what to expect from you. If you give in to your moods, your mind learns inconsistency. If you give in to excuses, your mind learns weakness. But when you show up with discipline every morning, regardless of how you feel, your mind learns reliability. It learns certainty. It learns that no matter what, you will act. That consistency rewires your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who hopes to improve and start seeing yourself as someone who cannot be shaken. The mornings you least want to be disciplined are the mornings that matter most. Anyone can rise when they feel good, but the ones who rise when they don't feel ready are the ones who grow unbreakable. Those mornings forge strength that nothing else can. Because every time you prove to yourself that you can act without motivation, you break the chains of dependency on mood. You become free. You no longer need perfect conditions to move forward. You create momentum from within. That is what separates those who dream from those who achieve. Dreams without discipline dissolve into regret. But discipline turns dreams into daily action, and daily action into transformation. And it all starts with a simple, repeated choice to discipline your mind every morning, regardless of how you feel. This choice builds a resilience that carries you through uncertainty, struggle, and pain. It builds a foundation that cannot be moved by shifting moods or unpredictable circumstances. Imagine the power of knowing that no matter how you wake up, no matter what storm is inside you, you will still rise. Imagine the confidence of knowing that your actions are not tied to your emotions, but to your commitment. That certainty changes everything. It gives you a steady strength that others feel but cannot explain. It gives you a quiet power that does not fade because it is not borrowed from motivation. It is built from discipline. This is why the mornings are sacred. They are the training ground where you separate yourself from who you were yesterday. Each morning is a chance to reinforce the truth that you are not ruled by feelings, you are guided by choice. And when you repeat that enough, the discipline becomes automatic. What once felt like struggle becomes identity. You no longer ask yourself if you will rise, you simply rise. That is the gift of disciplining your mind every morning. It frees you from the need to wait for perfect moments. It frees you from the chains of fleeting moves. It makes you unstoppable because nothing, not fatigue, not doubt, not fear, can take away your ability to act. You become the kind of person who moves forward always. And that, more than anything else, is the foundation of lasting transformation. Discipline is not just about controlling your mornings. It is about shaping the lens through which you see the entire world. The way you discipline your thoughts at the start of the day determines how you interpret every challenge, every setback, every opportunity. Without discipline, your mind will exaggerate problems, magnify fears, and minimize your own strength. But with discipline, you gain perspective. You see obstacles not as dead ends, but as lessons. You see struggles not as punishments, but as preparation. You see yourself not as weak, but as capable of rising above whatever stands in your way. Your perception is powerful because it guides your emotions, and your emotions guide your actions. If your perception is undisciplined, your emotions will pull you in every direction. One small problem can ruin an entire day. One negative thought can spiral into hours of hesitation. But when you discipline your perception every morning, you train yourself to look through a stronger lens. You begin to notice solutions instead of problems. You begin to focus on possibilities instead of limits. And slowly, your emotions follow. Instead of being drained by fear or stress, you are fueled by clarity and determination. This shift in perception is not accidental. It is a deliberate result of morning discipline. When you direct your first thoughts, you are training your brain where to place its attention. And where your attention goes, your energy flows. A mind that begins the day scattered will stay scattered. But a mind that begins with focus will find focus everywhere. This is how you build momentum that carries you forward. Not from luck, not from chance, but from conscious choice. Think about how much power you hold when you decide each morning to filter your thoughts through discipline. Suddenly, the noise of negativity loses its volume. The voices of doubt that once felt so loud begin to fade. You are no longer trapped by the mental chaos that drains so many people before their day has even started. You become centered, steady, ready to direct your energy into what truly matters. And the reward is not only inner peace, but outer progress. A disciplined perception makes you act differently. You move with more confidence. You take risks you once avoided. You persist longer in the face of resistance. Others may see the same problem and retreat, but you see the problem and step forward because you have trained your mind to search for strength, not weakness. That is the difference discipline creates. It does not remove obstacles, but it changes the way you face them. Over time, this becomes your identity. People around you begin to notice that you are not easily shaken. They see that you carry yourself with a sense of certainty, no matter what is happening. What they do not see is that it was built quietly each morning in the discipline of your mind. They only see the results, your steadiness, your resilience, your growth. And deep inside, you know the truth. You know that this strength is not accidental. It is a product of choice, repeated day after day until it becomes who you are. When you discipline your perception in the morning, you give yourself the greatest gift, control over how you experience life. No one can take that from you. The world can throw challenges at you, but it cannot decide how you will interpret them. That power belongs only to you. And once you learn to wield it, you realize that discipline is not a burden at all. It is freedom. Freedom begins the moment you stop being a prisoner to your impulses. Most people wake up and immediately surrender to distraction. They check their phone, they scroll through noise, they react before they even think. In those first fragile minutes, their mind is already hijacked. Discipline breaks that cycle. It creates space between impulse and action, giving you the power to choose instead of blindly reacting. That space is where freedom lives. It is the difference between being controlled by your environment and controlling yourself within it. Every time you discipline your mornings, you are sending yourself a message. I am in charge. That simple declaration echoes through the rest of your day. When temptations appear, you are less likely to fall. When distractions surround you, you are less likely to lose focus. Why? Because you have already trained your brain to pause, to redirect, to stand firm. You are not enslaved by impulse anymore. You are led by intention. Impulses will always exist. Fear will always whisper. Comfort will always tempt. But discipline strengthens your ability to resist. Neuroscience shows that the more you practice self-control, the more those neural circuits grow. At first, saying no feels heavy,